Hey everyone. Smile2Jannah has made it his personal mission to stoke as much tensions between Muslims and Hindus in the UK as he possibly can, and his latest video is no exception.
Hindus and Muslims, Indians and Pakistanis have been living in harmony in the UK since I can remember.
Well, it's not complete harmony, is it? I mean, you can go back as far as 1992 when the Babri Mosque was demolished in India, and it caused a whole bunch, I think it was like a week's worth of various kind of bomb attacks and stuff like that against Hindu temples, and then there were retaliations, I think, against Muslim communities. So there's been tension between Pakistani and Indian communities in the UK going back 30 years. Now, I'm not trying to say that they've both been at each other's throats that whole time, but to pretend that the tensions that exist there now simply happened last year because of the current leader in India, which is how he's trying to portray this, is just a complete fiction.
I see so many groups mixed with Sikhs, Pakistanis, Indians, and if we look at their faiths, Sikh, Muslim, Hindu. However, since the BJP has been ruling over India, they are the extreme right-wing Hindu nationalist party that has been sowing dissent and hatred between the Hindus and the Muslims just for votes.
Yeah, well, I mean, really, that just sounds like your equivalent. I mean, this is the same thing that you and all your Salafi mates do. You've got the same kind of authoritarian mindset. You've got the same supremacist attitude. You've got the same thinking that you should be dominant, Islam should be dominant, and everyone else should submit. So it's a bit rich, you complaining about this.
And power, mate.
Muslims do not deserve equal rights to apply for citizenship.
There's no such thing as equal rights. They're not in an equal category.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what Muslim extremists say. This is exactly what you Salafists say, that under Sharia, Muslims should be at the top and everybody else are subservient or they're dead. So again, I mean, playing that little clip is just such an irony.
These guys are so filthy, mate.
Yeah, what does that make you? You ain't clean.
If I was to even show a few clips of what is happening in Modi's India, mate, the video would be flagged.
Yeah, just as we could show what clips are going on in places like Saudi Arabia and Syria and Iraq and Iran and Egypt and all the other places where some Muslims are causing absolute chaos.
Would not even deem the video to be suitable to go out. In fact, if you compare, I can't even use this, even if you compare the ideology of the current BJP, which is mapped on the RSS, and the old German folk that did the old, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, which is, you know, those same German folk, the leader of that German folk, what did he say about Islam? He was quite impressed with its militant tendencies and therefore would have preferred that than a religion like Christianity for Germany. And let's face it, you Salafis have a very similar authoritarian mentality to those German folks, including all the ridiculous anti-Semitism that they believed in. So again, hypocrisy much?
Of the other ethnic minorities, then you won't find much difference, mate.
Yeah, same with you Salafis.
Fact, they look up to them. But the point here is, thanks to social media, that hate that's concentrated in that country over there is now being exported elsewhere. We see.
Yeah, and the same hate that comes out of the Salafi community is being exported all over the fucking world, isn't it?
This online because naturally India and China hold the largest populations of any country on the planet. So naturally their voice will be louder than others.
Well, that's a really stupid comment to make. I mean, your political power on the world stage really doesn't have to do with the size of your population, okay? Otherwise, Indonesia, that's the largest Muslim majority country in terms of population. Do you think Indonesia has more sway in the world than places like Saudi Arabia? Of course they don't. It's not to do with the population. It's to do with your geopolitical position in the world, what resources you might have that the rest of the world finds useful, all sorts of other things, not down to the body count.
What's interesting is last year, in around September time, they exported that hate here in the UK, more specifically Leicester. Yeah.
No, they didn't. As we're about to see, what happened was there were tensions in Leicester. Then what happened is extremists on both sides started to put out propaganda that it was just a one-way thing and it was just like a direct assault on the other community, etc. And they tried to spin it in their own way. So on the one side, yes, there would have been, say, Hindus extremists based in India who might have been putting out that narrative. But you guys were putting out the exact same narrative from the Muslim side. So you're as bad as each other.
Yes, we saw violence and riots on the street. Even the think tanks that are biased towards Muslims here were siding with the Muslims.
Yeah, what think tanks are biased towards Muslims? I don't see, and I mean, everybody tiptoes around the Muslim community trying to pretend that there aren't these social issues and the problems that are caused by some members of the Muslim community. So this victim narrative that you've always got to throw in is just totally phony.
Against the Hindutva ideology. Naturally, at that time, because of the voice and the influence of the Indian media, and of course India, because countries and state leaders won't speak out because India is a large economical market. If you cheese them off, mate, you are cutting off a large economic benefit to your country, mate. And naturally, because people care, not in terms of morals, even though they like to preach that, but they do it based on economy and what's good for their country, mate. Their national interest.
Yeah, but this is exactly the same thing you could say for places like Saudi Arabia. I mean, Western government, sadly, about to, they do, sell their soul in terms of morality because of the importance in terms of oil supply and strategic positions in the world. Yes, they make sad compromises, which the rest of us have to put up with. But there's been far worse consequences for the UK, including the domestic society, by making those compromises with places like Saudi Arabia, because they've been exporting terrorism all around the world. And the people like you who are kind of adjacent to that, although as much you keep yourself on the legal side of it, you won't quite say, yes, we support it. But all the social problems and stuff that we've put up with extremist Islamic ideology have come from the same kind of compromise. So again, what the hell was the point you're trying to make here?
Really, the voice of the Muslims was suppressed. However,
no, the voices of the Muslims were not suppressed. Absolute garbage. This constant victim narrative. You think you can just make these claims and people are just going to suck it up? Well, they probably will on your channel. But the fact is, there was no suppression of Muslim voices. There was all sorts of media claims from all sides around the Leicester disturbances that went on last year. It doesn't act as if, Muslims didn't get their voice out. Absolute bullshit.
But now we have the smoking gun.
No, you don't. And I'm about to show why.
We have evidence. This came out in the Daily Mail. Just bear with me here. And they said, the Mail on Sunday revealed that elements close to the BJP are suspected of having incited British Hindus to confront Muslim youths. The security source pointed to WhatsApp groups that were used to rally up these, they call them Pajits.
Right. But I'm going to do something that Smile2Jannah never will, is actually give you the full context of what that Daily Mail article said. So let's read as you go lower down. Violent clashes broke out between Hindu and Muslim youths after an India-Pakistan cricket match in late August, grabbing international media attention, particularly in India, where it was spun as Muslims attacking Hindu residents. This newspaper was told that the Indian-based BJP activists then started to issue messages. You see, that then started to issue messages. So what's been going on is there was already tensions that were happening in the community which erupted. And then what happened is, after these tensions, the BJP activists are alleged to have started to, stir things up worse or portray it as simply Muslims attacking Hindus, and it to be, completely one-sided. So that's what they're saying. They're not saying that they initiated the whole thing. They responded to it. And the difference is important. We'll carry on. Since the India-Pakistan cricket match on August 28th, there were several nights of protests in Leicester until September 22nd, with marauding youths marching on the street shouting "Victory to Lord Ram," which has become its rallying cry of the BJP in India. There were reports of attacks on Muslims and their homes, as well as attacks and vandalism against Hindu temples and homes. So there you have it. It was a two-sided affair. Charlotte Littlewood, an expert at the Henry Jackson Society think tank which investigated the riots, said that the disturbances began as a result of tensions between newly arrived Hindu youths from India and the more settled Muslim community. She said that although the reasons for the clashes were local, when they hit the international media, foreign pro-BJP elements began escalating the tensions for their own ends. So again, this was a reaction to what was already going on. Smile2Jannah is trying to pretend that they created the situation, which is bullshit. She also added that British Muslim groups from outside Leicester and individuals traced back to Pakistan were also stoking the conflict, portraying the clashes as evidence of Hindu violence against Muslims in India being imported to Britain. Who does that sound like? Does it sound like what Smile2Jannah has been doing ever since it happened? Doesn't it sound like Ali Dawa and Mohammed Hijab, who were two of those individuals who went up to Leicester? They went there trying to stir up trouble. Now, to the credit of many of the Muslims in the Leicester community, they told them to fuck off, which is pretty funny. But unlike this accusation or this alleged involvement on the Hindu side, which I'm quite prepared to believe this is true, there is no alleged about the Muslim side, because those two clowns, Hijab and Ali Dawa, filmed themselves up there stirring up shit. So we know that this was happening on both sides, and you've been trying to escalate it ever since.
I said this before and I'll say it again. Hate does not discriminate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. Salafis want to discriminate against everyone. You want to be the supremacist at the top. I absolutely agree.
If you don't stop it, especially now that the world is a global village, if you do not stop it, it will find its way to your door.
Yeah, and it will probably look something like you.
And if you look and you type in Smile2Jannah in India, I've been covering the hate that's been brewing in India for
No, you've been putting out a one-sided version of things to try and stir up shit in the UK because you're a propagandist.
quite some time, mate. And people are just, yeah, it's just over there, mate. But you don't understand. Whatever's there will eventually make it over here. What was the reason for Modis BJP to interfere here in the UK?
Most likely the same kind of motivation that clowns like you do and clowns like Hijab and Ali Dawa do. Yes, they were trying to promote themselves, they were trying to stir up conflict, etc., etc. But you're the last person who should be making any kind of video about this when you're doing the exact same thing.
Okay, it was to show the Hindus of the world that your savior is me, Mr. Modi, mate. So this
Mohammed Hijab and Ali Dawa thought they were doing the same thing when they went to Leicester. They were acting as if like they were the savior of the Muslim community, and they got chased out of the place. So I just think it's hilarious.
This was quite interesting for those people that were sitting on the fence and those people that were going like, where did this come from? Like, why did it happen? I mean, come on. We understand that there are proxy wars. This may not necessarily...
Yeah, no, this is not a proxy war. This was already existing tensions, which opportunists like yourself have tried to take advantage of. And there's been the equivalent on the other side who've done the same thing. And it's not a proxy war. It's parasites trying to take advantage of a tense situation in the UK.
necessarily be a proxy war against another country, but it is towards another faith, another...
You could say the exact same thing about Islam, especially in the Salafi form that you support. You want to attack every other religion on the planet. You want to attack everyone who doesn't have a religion, and you want them to basically be under your knee. So again, how you've got the gall to actually try and like come out and criticize what's been alleged against Hindu nationalists in India, when this is your open goal, is doing the same thing.
The belief. And this is how countries function nowadays. Unless you...
No, it's not. You're talking shit.
Look at Ukraine and Russia, wars aren't necessarily happening by countries on a specific battlefield. They are happening via computer programming. They are happening via proxies. If, for example, I disagree with Ali and somebody hates Ali, what I will do is I will support that person against Ali without it being known to the masses that it's me actually that's fighting against Ali. It's obvious that it's me funding that guy to fight Ali. But on paper, it seems like it's that bloke, right?
Yeah, well, just like, say, Islam.net, the Norwegian Salafi fundamentalist group that's been under the constant eye of the security services in that country for its likely links to jihadism and stuff that's going on in Iraq and Syria. Who do they fund? Oh, people like you. people like Mohammed Hijab, people like Ali Dawa. Yeah, they're all sponsoring you to do their propaganda.
Right there. I hope you guys have benefited from this, and I hope you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we've benefited from the fact that we see once again that you're a liar. You put everything out of context, you distort everything to put forward your Salafi message.
Have heard of the news website I opened, s2jnews.com.
Yeah, news website. Yeah. I mean, we've just had a taste of how you portray the news. So, yeah, just another propaganda tool.
We need one place that you can see Muslim news. It's regular, it's unfiltered, it's to the point, mate.
It's propaganda, mate. That's what it is. But actually, I support him doing this website or whatever this alternative news source is, because at the end of the day, it's not going to get many views. If he gets 5% of his audience over there, he'd be doing well. So the more times he wastes on that, the less time he's spreading his poison on YouTube, which, to be fair, still is the platform to be on. Anyways, hope everyone's doing well. I will have another new video in a couple of days. Oh, and of course, I've got I'm doing a live stream tomorrow at 6 p.m. with Perfect Dawa, who's a Muslim apologist. So check that out, 6 p.m. doing a live stream. That should be interesting. And yeah, after that, I'll see you in the next video.